Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the results are officially in. We have the top overall specs in the War Within right now, whether it be for rating or Mythic Plus. Just a quick disclaimer, of course, every spec in the game is technically viable, and you can do most content in the game with any spec. We're not saying these other specs are terrible, we're just simply saying the ones highlighted in the video today are currently performing the best in both Mythic Plus and rating. And speaking of being overall better than the rest, the biggest addition to my collectibles and to really show off my passion for World of Warcraft has gotta be these U2's collaborated vinyl figures. These limited edition vinyl figures are officially licensed and have been designed in collaboration with the WoW team over at Blizzard, and I am blown away about how cool these actually are. I really love all the attention to detail. U2's really nails the characters, man, whether it's, Thrall's facial expressions, Anduin's royal garb. You also have the awesome packaging, like the back piece here. I think that looks so beautiful to have up on the shelf. It really makes it stand out. Honestly, it's a great gift for a friend or a brother, or to just add to your own personal collection. You can use our code TCK for 10% off at the checkout for the WoW collection. So not only do you save money, so you can get more U2's figurines, you can also support the channel as well. Something that really blew my mind about these figures is that they're actually all limited edition. So they're really exclusive. So once they're sold out, they're pretty much gone forever. They're also launching 2 more War Within figurines like the Anduin one. You have Thrall and Illyria coming, which I don't know about you guys. I'm definitely getting all 3 of these suckers. I'm putting them up on the display. It's going to be really cool. U2's also doesn't only have World of Warcraft vinyl figures. They have a wide variety of options on their website, including Halo, Baldur's Gate 3, Call of Duty, Helldivers, Elden Ring, and so much more. Listen, on this channel, we're very, very specific about the ads that we show to you all because we only want to give you the coolest and best stuff out there, a product that can actually be useful to you. Do yourself a favor, secure some of these awesome vinyl figures before they go out. But listen, you got to use the code TCK at checkout. I helped you showing you these. You got to help out the channel by using the code, man. Anyways, thank you guys so much, and thank you U2's for sponsoring today's video. Let's get back to the content. Okay, starting off with our first melee DPS, surprisingly, we have the Enhancement Shaman. And man, before the War Within launch, I did anticipate Shamans being good, but I had no idea they were going to be dominating this much, whether it be for Mythic Plus or rating. This spec translates so well across the board right now and can really adapt to any situation they're in. They can crush enemies in AoE situations with Tempest and Chain Lightning combined with, Crash Lightning, and then they can dominate single target with chunky lightning bolts and Ascendants shooting them out passively. They're very mobile, they have on-demand burst damage, they have high consistent DPS. I mean, it just feels like Enhancement Shaman can do it all right now in this expansion. Aside from a number standpoint, I do think the Enhancement Shaman does suffer from a little bit of button bloat, making it not too easy to pick up, but if you can manage to practice with this spec and learn it over time, you're in a fantastic spot right now. Now, we all know that Stormbringer is pushing this class to the next level, and I don't see that changing in the nearby future, but the Totemic Hero Talent Tree is actually getting a complete overhaul heading into the new patch next month, and that's going to be very interesting to see if that can, potentially increase their damage, whether it be from multi-target or single target. Nevertheless, though, Enhancement is doing amazing right now across the board, and there's a reason why they're topping the charts in nearly all PvE content available. You have great utility, high burst and consistent damage for both single target and AoE, good mobility, and a lot more. I love the enhancement so far this expansion. Moving on to our next melee DPS, we have the Juggernaut Fury Warrior. Yeah, I know it isn't a surprise to see Fury Warrior this high, considering every time you check your DPS meters, they're near the top every time. If you want to talk about a class that deals just unrelenting, consistent AoE and single target damage, Fury Warrior has got to be the first one on that list. They deal fantastic damage in single target with Crushing Blow, Rampage, Slayer Strikes, and then in AoE, they have all their nuclear on-use cooldowns like Odin's Fury, Thunderous Roar, Blade Storm. I mean, if they use all these at once, pretty much everything dies in the area, which makes them really satisfying to play. Fury Warrior was so much fun, and I loved playing it in my time during the beta. The rotation is very, very smooth. It's very straightforward. It's simple, and damn, it is so effective in all departments. Their Slayer Hero Talent Tree is also fantastic and works so well with the regular Fury Talent Tree because it's almost entirely passive, but in a good way that makes it feel impactful and effective, unlike some of the more passive hero talent trees out there from other classes. I also love that you have some good mobility with Fury Warrior as well, and your role in a group is very simple. You don't need to bring a ton of utility if everything around you just keeps dying when you pop all your cooldowns, which I think is hilarious. There's no doubt Fury Warrior is one of the best specs in the game right now overall. The damage is absolutely there. The heavy impactful warrior cooldowns are there. Talent tree design is good, simple and effective rotation overall, fantastic spec so far in the War Within. Moving on to another fantastic melee DPS spec, we of course got to talk about the Retribution Paladin. The redesign for this spec has done wonders overall for it, making it very straightforward, simple, but also dealing a crap load of damage every 30 seconds or so, because once you pop your Wake of Ashes ability, they also now pop their Avenging Wrath, and they're pretty much just go nuclear when that happens. You combine that with the consistency of between that cooldown with their hero talent tree with Dawnlight and the additional damage from Sun's avatar being attached to your wings, boy oh boy, you have a DPS spec that is just incredibly consistent, easily amongst the best when it comes to topping the charts on your average, Mythic Plus and Raid group. I do think Rep Paladin will struggle over time because I don't think it will scale as well as some of the other classes, but at this very moment in time, Ret is blasting. I love the fact that Ret Paladin has probably some of the most utility in the game. Also, you bring your Blessing of Sacrifice, your Blessing of Protection, Hand of Freedom, Bubble, Lay on Hands, Off Healing. You bring so much to your raid team to keep your allies alive, and they make game-changing plays in whether you kill a boss or your group wipes. So combining all of this with their damage, Rep Paladin is essential in any raid group and can be added to any Mythic Plus. Something else that's very exciting also is that Paladin overall is getting a rework to their Paladin class talent tree heading into 11.0.5. And if you've been living under a rug the last few months, every time a class gets a rework, they end up being one of the best in the game. So this is truly an exciting time if you're a Paladin player. I love how simple the DPS rotation is for Rep Paladin. Their AoE on-demand damage is nuclear while also having consistent DPS with Dawnlight. Everything else in their kit. They excel in the execute phase with Hammer of Wrath, bring some of the most utility in the game, you name it, the Rep Paladin has it. Absolutely fantastic melee DPS spec right now. Moving on to our last melee DPS, we have the Havoc Demon Hunter, which has been performing incredibly well the last week. At the very start of the expansion, Havoc was falling behind significantly, but after some bug fixes and light tuning, Havoc is dominating the damage department with just how consistent their damage is in both AoE and single target. Right off the bat, you gotta know that the Fell-Scarred Hero Talent Tree has done wonders for the spec overall, causing it to, when you activate Metamorphosis, you have like 4 or 5 abilities in there that will cause you to explode for massive damage around you in AoE. And when this happens, the damage will literally be in the millions of DPS all on its own. Not only that, you can sort of cheese it to where whenever you pop I-Beam, you go into Metamorphosis and you can get a couple of these off every 30 seconds or so. So Demon Surge is right off the bat one of their top damaging abilities, and it's entirely passive. I also love that they've been shifting focus away from the mover build, which was also super complicated and just over stressful, and now you're becoming that spec that you once were, which is super high, consistent DPS that isn't too complex. You're non-stop dealing crazy AoE damage, your I-Beams hit for like millions of damage all on their own every cast, you explode with Fell energy constantly, you fly around and dash around the battlefield. They are so fun right now. They're easily one of the most interesting melee DPS classes in the game, while also now being amongst some of the best. I am absolutely loving my Demon Hunter alt right now, and they're easily one of the best melee DPS in the game. Shifting focus and moving toward range DPS now, first up, we got to talk about the Arcane Mage. Yes, this isn't a shock because Arcane Mage has been dominating the range DPS logs for like 3 months straight now, heading back into the beta. The rework for Arcane has done wonders for the spec because the class was once super complicated and bloated, and now it's very straightforward, fun, engaging, and you will deal nuclear damage if you're good at this spec. The class is so simple, in fact, that typically your Arcane Barrage, Arcane Blast, and Arcane Missiles equal out to about 60% of your damage with just those 3 spells. You have very short, powerful cooldowns like Arcane Surge on 1.5 minutes, Touch the Magi on a 45-second cooldown, so you have these constant major burst windows that can be sent to greatly increase your DPS. With Arcane Mage, you're constantly shooting out Arcane Orbs that will passively generate you charges, which will then allow you to shoot out more Arcane Barrages to hit like 4 or 5 enemies at once, typically leading it to be one of your top damaging abilities if there are a couple mobs involved. You have a very passive hero talent tree with Sun Fury that goes well with Arcane, and you summon your Arcane Phoenix to deal a ton of damage as well. You have some Meteorites coming out from them, and you duplicate some of your spells, making a nice passive hero talent tree for Arcane because Arcane on its own is very well designed, and having something impeding on the rotation would just be bad. So I'm loving Arcane Mage right now. So is everybody else that's playing Mage, and there's a reason everybody is playing this spec right now, and it's overall some of the best range DPS in the game. Now, if you would have told me a month ago that Devastation Evoker would be one of the top DPS, I for sure would not have believed you. It's so funny to me because as a Devastation Evoker, your Disintegrate and Bombardments on their own equal out to about 60% of your damage, which cracks me up about how straightforward this class actually is. The only reason this class is doing as good as it is right now is because of their Scale Commander hero talent tree, which causes your Disintegrate to occasionally be AoE and also afflict your target with Bombardment. The Bombardment debuff can proc off your allies as well and cause them to take additional damage. When they take this damage, it will reduce the cooldown of your Deep Breath ability, leaving your Deep Breath on about roughly a 45-second cooldown, allowing you to use it constantly and just nuke down waves of enemies all at once, and you're just flying around with your wings up in the air, and it's just very, very satisfying. I've always loved Devastation Evoker as a ranged DPS, and I'm really happy it's getting its time in the spotlight right now. It's very fun in Raid. It's great in Mythic Plus with all their crazy AoE. You pop your Empower abilities like Fire Breath, Eternity Surge, and then you combine it with your Deep Breath, and you just watch all these numbers flow on your screen and just cover everything. You're just, sitting there as a dragon watching the world burn. It's very, very satisfying. I love the Devastation Evoker. It's great on the move with Hover. I love their consistent AoE DPS with Disintegrate. It's always very satisfying lining up all these abilities and having some massive burst windows. And the fact that you can now steer Deep Breath as well is a very nice quality of life feature. I love Devastation Evoker. It's blasting right now. Absolutely fantastic spec. Moving on to our next ranged DPS spec, we have another very big surprise with the Destruction Warlock. Now listen, I'm not gonna lie, for a long time, Affliction Warlock was dominating, and I was expecting it to do so for a while, but lo and behold, here we are. Destruction Warlock is back. Between Chaos Bolt hitting for over 1 million damage a cast, Shadow Burn hitting for nuclear damage as well, while also being instant cast and being great in an execute scenario. And also you got your Diabolic Ritual summoning demons from the Legion to help you in battle, dealing very consistent damage from your hero talent tree. I mean, dude, holy crap, the structure of Warlock right now has become fun out of nowhere again. It actually feels like your abilities have meaning with the class. Things feel good to press, and when you press them, enemies just start dropping. God forbid you get a Ruination proc from your hero talent tree, and then you drop a Meteor on someone's head for like 2.4 million damage per enemy hit. It is so funny, man. I just sit back and laugh like an evil villain whenever that happens. All jokes aside, Destruction Warlock is doing very, very well right now in damage. Of course, it lacks some mobility, but it makes up for it with abilities that feel meaningful to press, a really badass hero talent tree. You have a lot of utility as well with Healthstones, Portals, Summons. This class is doing really, really well. The buffs this class has gotten over the last few weeks have done wonders for it overall, and I couldn't be happier for you Warlock mains out there sticking it out. Nuclear damage, great utility, kick-ass hero talent tree. What else do you need from a ranged DPS spec? And lastly, for our ranged DPS, we have a very big surprise with the Beast Mastery Hunter. I know previously I voted that this would be the worst DPS spec overall in the game, but they have been seeing significant buffs over and over again the last few weeks, and it's going to continue to do so heading into 11.0.5 next month. Beast Mastery is doing fantastic on the move damage, allowing them to avoid mechanics very easily in a raid, while also being able to consistently deal all their damage, making them very valuable. Not only that, the buffs to Dark Ranger hero talent tree has pushed it into the #1 hero talent tree slot for BM, and that's before the complete rework it's getting next month, which is crazy to me. Your Black Arrow and Shadow Hounds are equaling out to roughly 15% of your damage, which is very solid for a hero talent tree. And don't hate me for saying this, but personally, I do think the rotation for BM is a bit bland and very stale, but other than that, I mean, the spec does its job. Huntmaster's Call and Dire Beast actually deal damage for the first time in freaking forever. Kill Command is blasting right now. You have a decent gameplay integration of, trying to upkeep your Barb Shot, which is kind of fun. And personally, I've always loved the theme of having minions or beasts around me to deal most of my damage. If you're looking for a spec that is straightforward, deals a crap ton of damage, and is even getting major buffs and changes in the next patch, Beast Mastery Hunter for sure should be on your list because this class is doing some great damage right now, and the future is looking bright. Shifting focus and going to healers now, starting off with the best healer in the War Within has to go to the Preservation Evoker. Your Spirit Bloom build that plays with Chrono Warden is just blasting right now in terms of healing per second. You have your Enhanced Living Fame with the Chrono Flame, and it gives you some incredible spot healing as well as damage if needed. You use Tip the Scales with your Chrono Warden, gives you a massive buff to your haste and cooldown recovery rate, as well as giving some of your abilities Threads of Fate after you use them, which buffs your allies similar to how Augmentation does, which is really cool. You're constantly using Verdant Embrace to give some chunky spot heals as well to targets, while also giving you some nice mobility. You have insane AoE healing with Spirit Bloom and Dream Breath. This class is just so much fun right now. It may not be performing the best, but you also have the Flame Shaper hero talent tree that is also doing well. This allows you to do some really cool combos like using Renewing Blaze on your tank, using Engulf to either, deal a ton of damage or bring a bunch of spot healing for your allies. There's so much variety right now when it comes to Preservation, and with how well they're all doing, you really get the best bang for your buck when it comes to healers. I'm loving Preservation right now, and even Invoker as a class as a whole, really solid so far in the War Within. Next up, we also have my favorite healer, the Restoration Shaman. And now listen, I'm not being biased here because good lord, I think everybody else can admit that Restoration Shaman is killing it right now. They got a nice little update in the beta, including a nice party-wide buff with Sky Fury, a class tree rework, making things so much more streamlined, making it easier to pick up key nodes like Ancestral Guidance, Totemic Recall, Stone Bulwark Totem, which is their new defensive. Not only that, Restoration Tree in particular got a lot of 2-point nodes condensed down to 1-pointers, and I just really love the interactions with making your healing stream totem feel much stronger with their brand new hero talent tree. You toss down your surging totem and you keep up your enhanced healing rain while also making it mobile with totemic projection, which is so fun. One of my favorite parts is actually tossing out chain heals that connect to your totems and spread to nearby allies, and you can just watch the water flow to all your allies, which is really satisfying. This hero talent tree makes it to where when you activate a totem, it no longer feels like delayed gratification. It feels like when you activate a totem, you instantly get something out of it, so it doesn't feel like a wasted global cooldown. You have increased radius to your Spirit Link totem if things get crazy, and then you have Sprouting Spirits connected to that to heal everybody after the totem expires. Like I said, I think Resto Shaman covers pretty much all the bases. You have your raid buff, you have your oh shit buttons with your group mates with Spirit Link and Ascendance, you have your chunky totems that feel impactful, massive chain healed. I love Shaman design right now. Their visuals are great, their output is better, and they're dominating in the War Within, easily making them one of my favorite healers to have in my group or party. Moving on now to our frontline tanks. You all knew this one was coming. Protection Warrior has my vote for being the best overall tank in the game. Now, why in the world would I possibly say this? Well, not only is their damage some of the highest in the game and can reach in the millions of DPS, you have some of the smoothest intake of damage overall in dungeons as well as raids. They have solid mobility between Intervene, Charge, Heroic Leap. They have really good utility with Spell Reflect, Rally, as well as a nice CC with Shockwave as well. Rot Warrior doesn't have many holes in its kit, other than the fact that its self-sustain is amongst some of the lowest, meaning that it does rely on a good healer compared to the other classes like, Blood Death Knight, Guardian Druid, or Vengeance Demon Hunter. So that is something important to note. I do think Mountain Thane as a hero talent tree solves a lot of their problems that they were lacking before. Their AoE threat generation, it was a little poor in previous expansions, but that feels fixed now with the new and improved Thunder Blast replacing your Thunderclap. And I think the gameplay style of trying to stay in Avatar state as much as you can to improve your survivability, crowd control, and damage, it's a nice, fun gameplay integration. I'm going to be honest, Rot Warrior overall pretty much checks all the boxes for me personally that I would want in a tank. I'd be really happy to have them in my group. Moving on now to the last tank, of course, we got to talk about the Vengeance Demon Hunter. I hate to bring it up because constantly they're amongst some of the best. You got to know that Vengeance Demon Hunter by far has the most damage any tank can bring in the game currently, while also being very mobile. They're above average in just about every other department as well. They have a relatively smooth damage intake in Mythic Plus and Raid, and they bring sigils for nice AoE damage, nice CC. They have nice self-sustain, which is going to be actually even improved in the 11.0.5 patch as well. You also have Darkness for your group. I mean, listen, I'm loving Vengeance Demon Hunter right now if you're a player that's very skilled with a tank. I will say up front that I think there are better tanks out there if you're looking for a lower skill ceiling, kind of like Guardian Druid. But if I'm going to sit here and take one player that's the best out of every tank in the game, I'm going to grab a Vengeance Demon Hunter. I've seen Vengeance Demon Hunters do the craziest things so far in the Season 1 launch with them literally soloing final bosses in like Mythic 4s or 5s. It is hilarious. If you're a solid player and you know what you're doing, Vengeance Demon Hunter still remains one of the best, if not the best tank in the game for Mythic Plus. And that's why I think they're going to be fantastic finishing off Season 1. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, those are the top melee, ranged, as well as healer and tank so far in the War Within in the first week. Remember, listen, every class is viable. We just simply wanted to highlight some of the better performing ones right now. We're going to be bringing you all updated lists and a ton of new videos very soon. So I hope you stick around for that. I want to thank you all so much for watching this video and supporting us and loving the content so far on the War Within. My name is Sky from the Comeback Kids. I will see you all in the next one. Hey, hope you enjoyed the video. Listen, if you guys enjoyed the content, we have a ton of other videos to help you get through the War Within, like these two right here. And since you're already here, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button to join the Comeback Kids family today, because every subscriber matters. Thank you all so much for enjoying the video. I'll see you in the next one.